So I just want to welcome everybody to the last masterclass on Ambedkarian representation with Professor Oldway. And this time it's a representation through photography. And so I come to photography, always when I come to photography, the first person I think of is Danish Siddiqui. And he gave a quote saying, it's not enough for, well, he said journalists, but I'll say photographers. It's not enough for photographers to see themselves as mere messengers without understanding the hidden agenda of the message and the myths that surround it. And I think that's extremely important in the case of Ambedkarian representation. Now, it's the last class. We've all been through five weeks with each other. I just want a quick reminder that ArtRadio, the platform where we are looking at art education, we want dialogue. We want people to open up avenues to explore new ideas and interests. And I'm sincerely hoping that through these sessions that we've held, there are going to be books coming out. There are going to be artworks coming out. There's going to be exhibitions coming out. And please keep me involved in all of that when that happens. And please, also a reminder to please mute yourself during the session. For some reason, many of us are getting unmuted, so do recheck. And we are first going to start by allowing you guys to ask questions today. So if you have any questions right now, just put them in the session or put them in the chat box. The lecture isn't live on YouTube today. Technology has worked for 4 weeks. This week, we'll make sure that it's put on YouTube by tomorrow. But right now, the lecture isn't live on YouTube. As usual, the link will be sent to all of you. And of course, you'll have questions later as well. And if you have any further questions or need any other assistance, my email box and the WhatsApp is always open to all of you. Now about Professor Yashadatta Somayaji Oldway, who has very kindly and very fearlessly taken us through 5 weeks on a subject like Ambedkarian representation. And he's a distinguished scholar from the School of Arts and Aesthetics at the Jawaharlal Nehru University. And he brings extensive research and publications in ancient Indian art, Buddhist caves in Western India, and Neo-Buddhist visual culture. He's also lectured widely across India and internationally, including in Germany, Spain, the USA, and China. His work is deeply rooted, as we all know, in the interpretative framework of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And the kind of knowledge he has brought us in this 5 weeks, I'm amazed. I mean, anyone who can talk with this kind of knowledge over 5 weeks, I'm not sure I could talk for even 20 minutes, and he's managed for 5 weeks to keep us going and keep us very interested. So thank you, Professor Oldway. Let's start by asking if anyone has any questions that they want to ask us out of the previous sessions that we've done so far. Folks, you can raise your hands. You can put questions in the chat box, any way you want to go. If you don't,
if they want to ask directly, they can just unmute and ask. I don't mind. Otherwise, I will start the lecture, today's lectures.
Perfect. Nobody's raised their hand so far, so let's start and they can ask the questions at the end.
Yeah. So, shall I start?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Can you allow me to share PPT?
Done. Have you got it?
Yes. Yeah, my desktop is visible?
Visible, sir.
Yeah, my PPT is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll do a full mode and we'll start. Okay, so today I'm going to speak on Ambedkarian visual representations in photography, the social realism of a difference. Now, I've chosen this particular topic. Exclusively, I want to focus on 3 photographers, that is Sudarshan Oldway, Arun Vijay, and Palani Kumar. They are very distinguished photographers in their own ways, and of course, Sudarshan is the most well-known person of the three. However, what makes them different? That is something which I wish to explain through this particular lecture. So, the objective of this lecture is not to give you the historical development as such, but I am more focusing on the images and how you can interpret those images and how you can see those images. So image representation in photography has been in discussion as part of issues involved in decoding representations as problematics. It is also driven by technological fineness in the making of the images. Hence, Kendall Walton terms the shift from optical chemical to optical electronics and how image become more transparent digital, which raises serious questions with regard to the nature of photographic repository and the ways images are produced to invite to explore more minuteness of the visual world, making invisible visible to the naked eyes. Exoticism and the colonial lens in the early photographic images to the romantic village and to the idea of exploring the claimed spiritual and serenity in the landscape of India have been some of the concerns through which practices of photographic visuals have moved over a period of time. Romantic admiration of being villager or admirations for exoticism as well as for nature have become different ways of producing images by the urban-based photographers. Their visual archive is full of images with accepted notion of canons of claim modernity as well as secular and public. Perception of urban India has been thriving on Gandhian notion about rural as well as general masses of India. While poverty remain concerns and photographic images of poverty have also concealed the claims of the subjects that are actually represented on the surface of the paper or even on the digital platform. Unfolding the narrative of Holocaust and the danger of extinction has entered in the image representation as part of our responses towards being human and documenting them as important event of everyday life. There is a difference between photograph so I'm making this distinction. I categorize photograph into three categories. And of course, you won't find these kind of distinction in any of the writings because these are my distinction. This is how I, as a person involved in analyzing and understanding the images, I differentiate photographs into three categories. One is the exotic images, where there is a lens of exoticism, whether it is during imperial times or even in the post-imperial times, I mean to say the post-independence time, and also otherwise even in the present time. So people have, say for example, when the people from mainland India, I mean to say mainland India in the sense that the Gangetic Valley and the downs and the below Gangetic Valley, when they go to Ladakh or they go to Kashmir, there is this whole idea of exoticism. Or when they go to Northeast, there is this idea of exoticism that still hovers on the minds of Indians, and we do photograph with this kind of an exotic lens. Second is the ways in which the images are captured. Like you capture the images and say that this is a very much reality. This is very much a part of the realism. And then third, as an invitation to enter into the world of invisible territory. So this third category is very important because generally what is not being seen by the masses, by the people, so the photographers are interested to enter into the world which is not visible to the naked eyes or which is all the time concealed as an image. Say, for example, we have a fantastic example when the US President Donald Trump visited Ahmedabad. So the Juggi Jhopdis are all that area of those hut dwellers and all those things. So they were covered with the posters or with some kind of a tin shed, or some kind of a some kind of a means where you cover everything, and because you don't want to showcase that as a part of reality of your nation. And therefore the question of nationalism becomes a very questionable one. What is nationalism? Then whose nationalism it is and by whom it is being practiced? So the idea of nationalism also needs to be interrogated through these kind of means, through these kind of evidences, that you don't want to showcase the reality of the nation, and you cover them, you conceal them. And once you conceal them, otherwise also people are not interested on the street or even otherwise to know what is happening in the country or what is happening with the people as such. So it is this third category of invisible territory which is exposed by, which is photographed by these three important photographers. The third category deals with many evil practices the Indian caste Hinduness has been nurturing over a period of time. Photo image being real has always played an important role in conveying its meaning process. However, the nature of characters of the functioning of the human mind also gets revealed through the photographic images. Now, what is being captured as a part of invisible, and then how this refer to the social category, it is something which becomes part of the normative of the Hindu society or Hindu caste Hindu society. So it becomes a normative, and this normative has become extremely problematic because we don't consider normative as a problem. Our society is full of normatives, and this normative itself is a problem which we do not wish to address. Unless until we address the problems, we will not be able to find the solution. We will not be able to understand what as to how do we come over with this kind of a narrative which is so much deeply entrenched in our understanding, in our mind consciousness, and how this normative is exposed through these photographic means. And the normative always acts as an unfiltered lens, you see, because we don't question it, and therefore it becomes unfiltered. Like what you see and you immediately put it in your mind without questioning or without recalling whether whether I should interrogate or not, whether it is right or wrong, whether it is it has that element of humanity or not. So whether it is of a human concern or not. And therefore, the claims of being modern as well as postmodern becomes extremely problematic. To me, these are the misnomer. Claims of being modern, claims of being postmodern. What kind of a society we are, and these photographs question this very idea of modern and postmodern. And similarly, the claims of being post-colonial also becomes a problem embedded in the hierarchical thinking and own normative of post-colonialist. Now, I don't want to go into this problem of philosophical debates or what I call it as epistemic, what people not I call him, but what people have been calling as epistemic violence. And this epistemic violence, which gets analyzed by likes of Professor Cornell or Cornell West or even other people like Charles Mills, who talked about the white ignorance, and the you know the framework of white ignorance. It only examines the whites. It doesn't examine the entire sphere of whether black or white. Whereas the protected ignorance is a more has a more universal applications. It whether it is from this area or that area, from this religion or that religion, or from this society or that society. The normative exists, and you have to question those normatives. So the protected ignorance is very much part of questioning this narrative, this normative, and also raising the question of being. Everybody is being, it is in the process, but how many people really become is a real challenge to understand. And protected ignorance really examines it becomes a critical framework to examine this kind of a phenomenon. The ways in which Ambedkarian sensitization challenged the meta-narratives of modernity, subject of making the invisible nature of the social existence, is a natural corollary to address the issues of unethicality of the modern nation. It is in this context Dr. Ambedkar's formulation of rules and principles become important means to unfold such phenomenon. So I quote, "Rules are practical, they are habitual ways of doing things according to prescription, but principles are intellectual. They are useful methods of judging things. Rules seek to tell an agent what course of action to pursue. Principles do not prescribe a specific course of action." This is what, unquote. This is what Dr. Ambedkar wrote in his famous essay called Annihilation of Caste. So I want to make use of this as my framework, as my critical framework to interrogate and analyze and also interpret the photographic practices which these three Ambedkarite photographers have put forth. I would like to make it clear that invisible nature of the image and sense of being is read as critical category to unfold the being of what. Now, being of what resonates the idea of impermanence or a process of influx. By recalling the idea of being not as a fixed category, but an evolving category. Consequently, the question of rules and principles become a critical framework to analyze the very nature of being. Dr. Ambedkar in Annihilation of Caste says, and I quote, "There is nothing fixed, nothing eternal, nothing sanatan, that everything is changing. That change is the law of life for individual as well as for society." Unquote. Dr. Ambedkar, in his seminal essay on Buddha and Karl Marx, observes while summing up the ideas of Buddhism, and he writes, and I quote, "Nothing is permanent or sanatan. Everything is subject to change. Being is always becoming." It may also be added that Dr. Ambedkar writes, unquote, it may also be added that Dr. Ambedkar writes, especially in Riddle in Hinduism, he says that philosophy has its roots in problem of life, and whatever theories philosophy propounds must return to society as instrument of reconstructing society. It is not enough to know. Those who know must endeavor to fulfill. And this is very, uh, uh, a very morally loaded statement that those who know, it becomes their responsibility to tell others, to teach others, to make them conscious, and not to carry on these ghettoized ideas, or for that matter, to carry on the questions of your normatives. It is in this context I propose to read images produced by Sudarshan Oldway, Arun, Vijay, and Palani Kumar. Sudarshan Oldway is from Maharashtra, and Arun, Vijay and Palani Kumar are both from Tamil Nadu. So we have a fantastic combination. One is from Maharashtra and two are from Tamil Nadu. Sudarshan Oldway and Arun, Vijay and Palani Kumar, I'm sorry, this is I just pasted this PPT from other lecture. So I'm really sorry for missing Palani Kumar's names. Captures the images of social existence of the communities where a frame of an invitation, where the frame is an invitation to enter into the darker territories that are otherwise concealed to the naked eyes. For that matter, questions the whole idea of pure appearance, not as a momentary process, but a process that thickens the very existence of the abject conditionality of the material existence of the communities that are otherwise called as scheduled caste communities. I'm sorry, it should be plural, scheduled caste community. Their repertoire of images are directed to question the prerogative of question of being. Optical chemical as well as optical digital both are observed in the works of Sudarshan Oldway, whereas it is the other two photographers, they are of a different generation, and therefore they are engaged only in optical digital. So let me be very, very clear about this. Often it is observed that the object of representation is controlled by the photographer through its instrument of camera. And today, process of optical digital has empowered the photographer as an agency to its fullest possible control. It is equally important to read the nature of subjective formulations through the visual means of photographic instruments. Now, very, very interesting thing, I tell you, like when you do the manual photography, I mean to say the optical chemical. So once you captured the image, you don't know what exactly it is. However, in the digital, it is not so. You can immediately check whether it is right or whether it has come properly or not. And then again, you proceed for another clicking. Or you click multiple images and you choose. In the, you don't have that kind of a luxury when it comes to the optical chemical or the manual method of photography. Because you have to put a roll, and then there is always constraint. It only can capture 36 frames. It doesn't go beyond that. And then there is a whole idea of processing, and then so you have to be very cautious while doing all those things. And those who have learned this manual photography, their eye gets trained. I mean, I must say that they instantly that instant decision is very much there in their practices, because it comes through that understanding of optical chemical. Whereas in case of digital, like you have a plethora of images and then you choose one. However, the lens is very important, the frame is very important, and what one notices is that how you can manipulate and train yourself in using this digital frame to capture that kind of a social realism. That really matters a lot. And what I have observed is that these three photographers, I mean, today Sudarak also does optical digital. So all these three photographers are very quick in making their decision and capturing that particular moment. So it is a momentary realism that constantly plays an important role in revealing the stories, and they are not simply capturing it. You see, there is a story behind each and every frame, which is something which only a photographer knows, and till the photographer reveals to us, we don't understand that. And but at the same time, a fine eye who is very conscious and very and not go having any presupposition, they will certainly understand the politics behind that image, and also the nature of content and the importance of that image. Because for all three, photography is also means of activism. Photography is also part of their democratic practices. Photography is also part of their rationality and mind consciousness. Photography is also part of their Ambedkarian responsibilities. I use the word responsibilities. As Dr. Ambedkar said in that the importance of, philosophy, it is not enough to know. Those who know must tell others. And these three photographers constantly are engaged in revealing the issues that are faced by the marginalized section, which are at the lowest ebb of the society. And therefore, they actually question the whole ethos of modernity, postmodernity, global, post-global, and all kinds of nomenclature that have been created in the academic, in the social and intellectual domain. And therefore, their photographic practices really hit you a lot, because it hits your normative, because it hits your so far gain accumulated understanding of image representation, and it also hit you hard that it questions your existence of being. And that is why there is this whole importance attached with their with their photographic practices. And all the three, they are very much involved in the questioning the idea of pure appearance. So what Sudhakar Oldway, he started as page three photographer. He comes from Akola and he migrated to Mumbai. He had no enough money to get studied in to study in JJ School of Art. It was his dream to get a degree from to during that time to get that diploma or whatever it was there in JJ School of Art, and he couldn't do it, and then he switched over to photography, and then he joined the Times of India page three photographer. And just imagine how from page three photography practices he moved to the social realism and created flutter in the world of photography. So conservancy workers is a series of images where life of sanitary workers are captured. Sudharak interest from street life to the life of sanitary worker is a journey marred with the idea of self-introspection. The very idea or process of entering into sewage pipe itself is inhuman, but the caste Hinduness find it very normative as she is not part of that particular stratification. Image being the image being of capturing of moment of the time while the subject is either in motion as well as engrossed in his her own world. But the real question posed by both by all the three photographers is that of pure appearance. A gaze of the subject directed to the camera will make an image a posting image, and by all that means it does not deny its existence to its social milieu, the dirt being removed from the sewage pipe. Camera brings forth this inhumanness of life performed by the conservancy workers all over India. It questions very idea of digital technological India. Indian scientists and scientific establishments have put satellites in the space orbits, but could never think of solution to the cleaning of the dirt. Shit as a problem, shit as priority to make justice to these who are drawn customarily into this profession. It is in this context the claim of civility and liberty becomes extremely problematic to claim India's shared ideas of meta-narratives of modernity as well as postmodernity. There have been many severe deaths in India. Safai Karmachari Andolan Samiti has even filed a case in the Supreme Court, but there is no justice to the life of many. The claims of Swachh Bharat or Clean India also becomes a fallacy in the light of such a graphic photographic images. When Sheila Dikshit was the Chief Minister of Delhi, remarked after seeing these images in the exhibition, she said, "Oh, is that so? It shows how much a narrative of post-colonial created an enabling process." This is an image that is found almost every part of the metropolitan cities in India. Though the image from Mumbai, Sudarak underlined the life of the manual scavengers in the cheap metropolis of democratic India. Though political democracy and equality are invoked to celebrate the emergence of the modern nation, the conditions of the lower caste, as captured through the medium of photography, narrate a different tale. Representation's symbolic nature is subsumed in the realistic capturing in photography, and the subject of caste is used to unfold the nature of the hierarchical structure of society. The image has tactile sensation, but at the same time, sensation of touch is forbidden by the very nature of the texture indicating dirt. Thickening of the dirt is a sight no one would like to experience or, for that matter, even realize its visual sensation. It's an invitation to explore the world which no Indian citizen would like to do. Performance is a part of everyday life, and power and image And power of an image is that of making the viewer to realize sensation of caste Hinduness. This is the image of the quarters that where the Safai Karmacharis live, and that is also in an equal shambles state. I mean, the administration is not willing to repair, or not willing to repair or keep, to repaint or anything. They are just left as it is, as if, their profession of cleaning dirt also gets carried even in the house, that you have to live in the dirt only. So that is how the administration imposed, which is very much unconstitutional in nature. Now I come to series of Kamatipura. All the three have produced numerous series, but I'm touching upon Sudarak's because Sudarak's portfolio is quite big, and now Palani Kumar's portfolio has also increased a lot. So it's not possible to justify their works in one lecture. But certainly I will just give you the representative example. So this is series on Kamatipura, and this is how the sex workers they stand on the street. So soon after day set in, life in Kamatipura begins. The street is a place where flesh trade is thriving, and all the sex workers has distinct caste signifiers. They come from Devdasi tradition, and generations enter into the flesh trade. A sex worker is also a mother. She is consoling her children to remain silent and let her go to get customer. Living dirt and sense of passion is a drive that make this image to speak on its own. Capturing observed realities is a task performed by camera lens through the photographer. But unless there is a realization of subject's vulnerability, a sense of hitting through the camera lens does not become a reality. Dirt, discomfort, and dizziness are part of Kamatipura, where prostituted people are made to sell their bodies to make living, and this is where they sell their body, and one can see the nature of dirt, and also it is part of their living room. This is the death of a sex worker, and very interesting. This person is performing the last ritual of the death, and he is the husband, and whereas this one is a boyfriend. So it's quite a very complex and a very different life which the Kamatipura people have. And it's a world beyond comprehension of an ordinary. The ordinary person will not be able to understand. And the ghettoized community, they grow with certain practices that becomes very normative in their life. And you can also see the composition of people of different coming from different religious groups in this particular photograph. Then these are the series on atrocities, like mostly the caste Hindus who kill their bread earner in the society, the way they are captured, the way they are beaten, the way they are thrashed. This is something which people need to understand. That, say, for example, the flocking in public glare has been a part of everyday life almost of the caste Hindus, and the caste Hindus need to understand this dynamics, understand that how they are part of this perversion. And Indian society, by and large, I always called it that, they are society of psychotic perversion. Why I say so? Because when you see these images, how you can explain them? How you can explain their ingrained Manusmriti behavior, ingrained thinking of hierarchy? Caste is a hierarchy. Whether it is this caste or that group of communities or this group of communities. Caste is all about hierarchy. And that hierarchical thinking constantly goes in your mindset. And you feel that, you are the one, you are the Savarna. And that Savarnatva has has given you power to thrash others. This is how I explain the violence in the Indian society. And one can see how this acid attack completely destroyed this girl, these young women. They just came and just pour acid on her face. Then you see, this is another woman who was brutally raped. Then this is another image of acid attack. So you can see how there is this constant, and these acid attacks are generally not happening in the villages. These are happening in the city areas, in the town areas. And so that shows like how your education, it explores different methods of atrocities, of different methods of practicing atrocities or practicing violence. So you explore the nature of violence, that how violent you can be and how you can communicate to the other group of society or to other person. And in this case, it is just a male chauvinism which is so much embedded in the caste hierarchy, which is so much embedded in the psychotic pleasure. And this psychotic pleasure, which is being practiced by the Indian youth and by the Indian society in by and large, is a matter of great concerns, and that completely flouts the Constitution of India. And therefore, I say it is not the responsibility of the few, but it is the responsibility of every citizen of Republic of Government of India to tell others to change, to transform and give up this kind of mindless behavior. And this is another photograph where the woman was amputated. Just imagine the plight of that woman who had gone out and was captured by those miscreants, those caste Hindus, those Savarnas, and they, as a part of punishment, because she did not allow them to to attack her body, and as a part of punishment, they amputated her and amputated her. So these are the glaring realities. These are all the murderous tendencies the people have. Now, this is a small farmer series he did, and it explores the nature of economic status of different farmers in different parts of India. So this is across. It is not just Maharashtra or Gujarat or anything, but it cuts across the regions of India, across the landscape of India, and you can easily see the nature of landscape, and also you can make out the what could be the nature of the places. And these are all the small, I mean, these are the people who are having a small holding of land, and how collectively they work in their farmland as a part of family, as a part of their living. Now, how is that small farmers, they work? They actually, there is no surplus earning for them. So what they do is that they grow whether whatever crop they are. Say for example in Haryana they would or in largely in the northern India, they will produce wheat. In southern India or in Maharashtra and some in some other places, they will grow, they will produce rice. So they produce rice and they preserve it in their houses so that they can survive for a year. This is how their sustenance goes. And once the farm is over, because it is just a matter of 6 months, that's it. And then afterwards, the summer begins in India. And there is no water, there is nothing, no water conservation measures are there, nothing is there. And then they move to the cities to work as a laborers. And this has been a pattern of small farmers in India, and we don't have any mechanism. Rather, neither the communities are educated, because how the farmers exploitation is there right from colonial India. the only text that comes to our mind, or rather the only text that exists, is Taylor's Whipcord, which was authored by Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, which is in Marathi, it is called as Shetkaracha Asud. Shetkaracha Asud is one text that gives you the plight of farmers. And you just read that, how the farmers are exploited, and the exploitation is still going on. The structure of exploitation has changed a bit, but otherwise the exploitation remains at large, and the Shudra farmers who consider themselves as caste Hindu communities, they are the one who are also involved in committing atrocities on the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes of India. These are the kind of farmers who would not like to understand or read Mahatma Phule's Shetkaracha Asud, nor they wish to read the Indian Constitution, nor they wish to change. They have become a fossilized mind which is being exploited all the time, not only exploited but controlled all the time by the Brahmanical cultural nationalist. And it is this Brahmanical cultural nationalists who are none other than just a Savarna class of the Indian society, which is caste Hindu society, and they are the one who would not like them to get educated, or for that matter, they always think that their exploitation should continue, that it is not their part of responsibility being a citizen of Republic of Government of India. This is a glaring reality of the farming communities. And that is the reason, when this whole rubric of post-colonial becomes very problematic. Why it is problematic? Because these are the caste Hindu societies who have been committing atrocities on the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. They are the part of this domination. And the post-colonials would like to call them as, subalterns. What kind of a subalterns they are? And the post-colonialists will never see the atrocities which are being committed by these people. This is a glaring reality. And even people don't try to address this problem. This is a fallacy of mind. This is a fallacy of mind consciousness. So the mind consciousness in India is that of a mind consciousness of psychotic perversions and not the mind consciousness of righteousness. The element of righteousness doesn't exist in the general masses of Indian society. And this is how their manual farming goes. Then this is the state. Everywhere you see how people travel. And this is just an auto rickshaw, which has a very less capacity. And see how many people are sitting on them, on that one vehicle. And that is how the transportation goes. So therefore, all this, the project of bullet train or anything becomes a very fallacy. It becomes very fancy for people who are interested to see the development, and these development projects in India completely bypasses these realities of the rural India. So the development of roads becomes a very objective perception of the urbans in India. They don't see how the rural India is facing segregation because of this so-called road development. Because their land is taken, but they are not allowed to travel on that road. And if they want to travel on that road, they'll have to pay toll. So we have number of those issues, and these are the glaring realities. And these photographic documentation also shows you those realities. Then we have common farmers from Maharashtra, and then, sorry for the spelling mistakes of Maharashtra. Then you have Karnataka, and these are all the portrait images. But notice, like, the cotton is a very stable kind of a crop production in some parts of Maharashtra, mainly Marathwada and Vidarbha area, and that too in the Western Vidarbha area. So the Western Vidarbha area, barring Chandrapur, Bhandara and Gondia district, all other districts are all the cotton growing districts, and the largest number of deaths farmer suicides are from this area only. So you have to understand, I would request all my farmer brethren to read Mahatma Phule, to read this um, person who was a founder of Shivaji Education Society. He was from Amravati. The uh, on whose name the agriculture universities has been established in Maharashtra. Uh, Sorry, I'm remembering his image but not remembering his name. Um, I'm sorry. I will get. Uh, I will certainly get the. I will certainly remember the name and I'll tell you gradually. But this is from Nandurbar area of Maharashtra, and then we have from Rajasthan, which is completely dry. And then this is from Punjab. Wow, very interesting. Generally, we always read Punjab with lot of wheat, but here is also production of cotton in Punjab. That shows that the cotton is a very important crop in India and that it is being produced at many places. Now there is a whole history of cotton growing. There is also a history of the decline of the textile industry in Mumbai. There is a whole history of the modernization of the plants and all those things, so on and so forth. But it is still there, and these are the areas where there is a lot of intervention even on the part of different state governments, and every state governments are trying to give a minimum supporting price for the cotton growing farmers, because it is a very stable kind of a crop production, and they face tremendous problem because of the erratic weather in the country. Just one small rain will completely destroy their crop, and they become penniless because they are so much dependent on these crops. In case of the large farmers, they don't have any problem. In case of Punjab, there is a side by side, there is a wheat production. And therefore, they don't face that kind of a difficulty. Whereas in Maharashtra, it is not so. They face a lot of difficulty. Similarly, it is in Madhya Pradesh. It is a problem. Similarly, in Andhra Pradesh, also it becomes a problem. Now, I have chosen this particular image. You see, in northern India, people might have seen the double harvester machines, and there is a mechanized process of harvesting, and this is all what we call in the country language as jugaad. This is a kind of a local innovation. So actually, this is a pump set. So the pump set motor is used for the spinning of this device, and then you just keep thrashing those things, and the and the and the seeds come out. So the grain comes out. So this is how the grain is lying, and this is how the grain is being separated from the plant, which is an interesting process to look at, and how these marginal farmers are you know are involved in making their own innovations, because having a double harvester machine is a hugely expensive. Harvester machines were brought from Russia. Let me tell you, the audience, that they were brought from Russia, and then with the Russian collaborations, they were produced in India. Today, only the private players can afford it. But also in northern India, especially in Haryana and Punjab, the farmers do not own the double harvester machines, but rather there are group of traders who have owned the double harvester machines, and then they they lend it on. There is a rent. So that kind of a mechanism is involved these days. But those who even cannot afford that rate, these are the people who have devised their mechanism, their mechanism to produce these kind of machines at a local level and work. Then these are the farmers from Uttarakhand, which is a hilly terrain, which is completely different. The hills are completely different. And then this is a very look a very sight of in every village how the marginalized farmers are depending for the milk on the cow which they own. And then this is another series called Circle of Tamasha. See the Tamasha, I mean there is an important work which has come out recently by one of the faculty in US. So there is a book on Tamasha called uh, what's her name? Tamasha book. Let me Google. I'm just Googling. It is by it is by the one who works in uh, it is I'm not remembering the name. I'm sorry. Uh, really sorry, but I'll come to know. So the yeah the person whom I talked about is about the agriculture. These things they should read at least. Punjab Rao Deshmukh, who was a towering figure in Maharashtra, and uh, the so I will remember this name also. The recent book which has come, but uh, there is an interesting article written by Sunita Savarkar who completely opposes the line of thinking which that particular book has taken. And and what she read out of this book, out of these images, is the as a part of historical narrative, as a part of historical archive. So these are the kind of an images which became part of the uh, of the part of the archival process, or you don't get these kind of images. And then the 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 family is photographed by Sudarshan Oldway, and it narrates their stories. This is all about, you know, getting ready for the show. So one is eating, one is doing makeup and all those things, and then they are getting ready in their house, or in that so-called green room. And actually this is an image in the mirror and not in front. So quite an interesting one. And then you see the ways in which the backdrops are used, and the whole drama is created by the Tamasha artist. So these Tamasha artists initially were not really involved in these kind of religious performances, but they have brought in these particular performances because they had to, and rather they were forced to do these kind of performances. And now you see how the performances acts are enacted by the Tamasha performance, and they are all the family performers. They are all it is all their family profession. And you also see how the audience react, and how the audience, just catch them as a part of their right. And he is a patil, or he's somebody from a very well-off section of the village society, Gramin society, village society. And he just holds of the hand tightly, and pushing her towards him. That is how these gestures are very common factor, commonly observed in the Tamasha performances. And the entire audience is looking at her. So the audience is taking pleasure by these kind of acts, and they are always vulnerable. So these are all the Gita Andhare, uh, Lakhan Gaokar. So they are from the Lakhan Gao, and they are mostly located in Western Maharashtra. And they are these are the families who come either from the scheduled caste, or from the the lower ebb of the OBC societies, but not many scheduled caste families are involved in this kind of professions because they gave it up when because they get sensitized by Dr. Ambedkar's movement in the urban area. And Sunita Savarkar has a good piece on these photographs where she is also delineating the change of the consciousness and how that change of the consciousness can also be read through these photographic means. So these are the elderly person who had been a performer, and then her daughter who is now a performer. So there is this generation which is captured here. And then you can also see how like the change of the cloth or change of the or making up for this, and everything becomes under the one roof. So which completely tells you a different story. So there is this whole and you can see there is this bhakar they are eating. So it's not a food which is really consumed by a rich people or a well-off people. And all those trunks and everything, they become part of their life. So they move from one place to another place, and this is how they live they camp in the villages or some big villages, and there is always the patronage. So now I come to this Arun Vijay Mathwan. He is a Chennai-based photographer, and he has graduated from National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. And he moved to this documentary photography, and he was so much inspired by Sudharan. He told me that he was so much inspired by Sudharan's works, and all his works are optical electronic. And he explores the lives of scheduled caste communities who are involved in the who are involved or who are working as assistants in the medical field. Now, what that assistant means. So his photographs completely changed that. His photograph diminished this particular understanding. And he says that his title of the project is Millennia of Oppressed, the Works of Caste in the World of Death. And he begins the quote from B.R. Ambedkar that Indian society is a gradation of caste, forming an ascending scale of reverence and descending scale of contempt. And Arun Vijay says, what we do with our dead, how we regard them, is dependent on the specific conditions into which we are born: belief, religion, language, place, sect, caste, gender, and in recent times, science. In India, those classified as untouchables or Dalits have been forced to handle the dead for centuries. The manner in which they are compelled to do this in modern state-run hospitals has gone unnoticed and undocumented. My project proposes to shine a light on an unknown, shrouded world. And he says that we live in a time when unnatural deaths are subjected to investigation. Before a surgeon handles the body, a team of trained staff prepares it. There are elaborate procedures relating to how the body should be handled and what the qualifications a technician should have. After the autopsy, highly skilled work is performed. The corpse is wrapped. The ventilators are removed. No visible incision is left to be seen. The viscera are carefully handled, and the body is reconstituted by sewing it back together. In all this, the coroner is assisted by a team of lab technicians. Now, who are these lab technicians? Now, I don't want to read this, but let me tell you that these are all officially the identity card designs the men as sanitary workers. Much like other stigmatized work in the society organized by castes such as such as handling all manners of waste, including human excreta. The cleaning of sewer or skinning of animal carcasses. This modern work too has become hereditary. The ill-equipped workers with outmoded refrigerators and crude implements perform heroic tasks in dismal conditions. They suffer from several occupational ailments and work-related infections from handling the decomposed verminous bodies. Tasked with endowing dignity on the dead, they face a social death. The untrained, underpaid Dalits cannot tell their friends and neighbors what they do for living. And these are the identity cards. So you see the designation as sanitary workers or designation as housekeeper. So their designations are completely different on the records, but what they do is totally different. And the uh, uh, the the ways in which they perform these kind of works and how they are constantly put in these kind of works is also another narrative. You see, I had my friend in the childhood. We were studying together in the primary school, and my primary school was located very much at the edge of the hospital, the government hospital. And at the backside, there was a small hut room which was actually made to do autopsy of the bodies, and then it was removed to somewhere else, some other place during that time. But I still remember, that a big tumor was removed from one patient and it was thrown there, and we were playing with that tumor as a football in our childhood. So imagine the kind of a things I've seen in my life. And this person, whose father was involved in dissecting those human bodies, so the administration wanted this boy to come and replace his father. And he told me that, Alone bhai, I did not want to go into that profession. I deliberately said no and nothing doing, though there was lot of pressure on him because he was from that what we call it as Bhangi Samaj in Marathi, or it is there even in northern India. So Mehtar community, what we call in Maharashtra. So he was from that community, and his father was involved in this work, and he was forced. And he said no, nothing doing. So finally, what had happened was that some few other boys who had absolutely no means, or they somehow they were not, they did not get that kind of a consciousness and all, and they joined his father, and they took over that particular work. So it's a very different kind of a world. And if you see and try to understand that it is always a forced occupation, it is not an option which is given to the human being, but it is a forced occupation on these people, and therefore it becomes very problematic. The process goes beyond mere mechanical one and brings the question of what Dr. Ambedkar said about rules and principles in annihilation of caste. Now, these are the living conditions of those people who are living, who are actually doing this kind of the profession of medical assistant, and they're all poverty stricken. And this is the mortuary which is there in Tamil Nadu, someplace in Tamil Nadu, and exterior of the building which is equally discarded lot. I mean, when you accept AIMS or a big hospital in the urban areas, all these places in other areas become very discarded lot. I mean, you have to go and see yourself the pathetic condition of these places. I mean, wherever there is a medical college and these kind of things are attached with the medical colleges, the facilities are completely different. The ambience is completely different. Whereas when it comes to the district hospitals, the taluka hospitals, now you see what kind of a conditions they are. And this is how they pile up the clothes And then uh, right opposite to those kind of places, you do have a very posh colonies of the doctors and the nurses and the other staff of the hospital. And there is a complete contrast. And it is a contrast of the present day real life, where Indian have yet to question due to their insensitive nature of political and social consciousness. And this is how many such workers they work in this particular field. And then these are the aprons that are used while dissecting the body. And the uh, the nature of apron is, this is a kind of a thing which is not prescribed by the Medical Council of India or the the International Medical Council. Their rules are completely different, and these rules are constantly bypassed in India. So this is an approach. And then there are perennial blood stains, and it's all its possible means are directed to make us view what is otherwise forbidden territories. So now you can see their religious affiliations, to which religion they have, and then stigmatization continues even after conversion. So they cannot perform without liquor. You see, they consume a lot of liquor. And because when you are in full consciousness, it becomes very difficult to perform these kind of inhuman nature of work. And see, these are the implements. I mean, these implements are completely banned from the medical practices. And you know what is the rule of the Medical Council of India? That nobody is allowed to touch human body except the licensed doctor, whether it is a dead body or a live body. This is the rule of the medical science, medical Council of India, and the World Medical Council of Council also. The and these are the rules which are very strictly and diligently followed. However, at least we see a very different kind of a practice here. So these are the implements. Even when the MBBS students, they come in first year, they have to dissect the body. I don't know how many of you have seen those kind of dissections and all, because my friends were there doing MBBS. So I would happily go, and even I used to help them in making drawings and all those things, because I was doing my painting graduation and they were doing their MBBS. So they were not very good at drawing. So I would sometimes I would prepare their drawings and all those things, and that is how a lot of things I come to know. And I also saw them, witnessed them, the way they practice dissections and all those things. So there is a specific standard medical blade which is used, and you can't do dissection by any kind of an instruments like this, your knives and all those things which you use it for your day to day cutting of the villages, cutting of the vegetables, and the cutting of the non-vegetarian food, that is mainly the flesh and all those things, whether it is mutton or chicken or animals. So you see how they perform this dissection on the dead body, and then there is the stitching of the dead body, and all kinds of dead bodies they have to deal with. So these are all the images actually Arun Vijay went and captured. He witnessed those things. Well, we also saw those things, certainly, but not inside the room, but outside the room. At least some of us did that. But not everyone could see that. That is also there. And you require a considerable strength for seeing these kind of things. And see how the bodies are, I mean, these are the burning cases, and how they are cleaned and everything, and then everything is tied up, and these are the viscera, organs, vital organs removed from the dead body, and they are kept, and the police don't take any action, because it is a work of the police to transport them to the laboratory for the further further inspection, where you have to find micro details for the cause of the death, and how person died and all those things. So there are a number of things which are involved, but this is how it goes. and then the entire floor is all blood stains, and it's all red, and then they clean the everything, and so this is how they end their work. Now I come to Palani Kumar. Palani Kumar is an interesting art, I would say, not only artist but also human being, and a very different person, completely different person. He he he's from Madurai and Tamil Nadu, and by profession is an engineer. So he graduated in electronics and instrumentation, and very fine mind. Just imagine an engineer by profession. And after doing his graduation, he decided to become a photographer. And he has this lust to become a photographer right from childhood. And uh, um, and he had a dream of making a film. So just imagine that the child who grows and works as an engineer because he's get educated as an engineer because his mother wanted him to become an engineer, and he's nurturing the dream of making a film. And um, and and, and then in 2014 he purchased his first camera, Nikon D510D. So he started photography with the Nikon camera, and then in 2019 he produced the 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 COVID series, the Scavengers of Chennai, which I'm going to show. And he was also part of the documentary film Kakus. But uh, um, he his statement is very powerful, very powerful. He says that um, he like it is more like his life mission. You know, he says that without people's work, I am not a photographer. A very value loaded statement he makes. And this particular, I mean, to claim to make this kind of a statement is not easy for anyone. Even those post-colonialists will never make this kind of statement. Just imagine those who claim to be postmodern and post-colonial. But Palani has done it. And while studying the manual scavengery communities through the means of the photography, this is how he realizes the importance of the Periyar movement and the Ambedkar movement. And then Ambedkar becomes his guiding spirit, guiding persona in his life, and how to, confront these things. And he makes photography as his mission. And it is not, this is what I said, that it is not a romantic admiration. It is not exoticism. It is not just, I go and capture those click, and I say, okay, fine, these are the things. That's not the way Palani Kumar does. Palani really studies the community in and out, and in a very candid manner, and he captures their daily life. He captures each and every nuance of the problem of their life. Then he also gets associated with Paranjit's that Vanam festival, and mm, uh, uh, Paranjit had come to inaugurate his photography exhibition in 2007. So these are some of the important moments in his career, and he became part of the organizing committee of the Vanam festival, which he is regularly doing in Chennai. Apart from that, uh, I mean, he receives support from Paranjit. He also receives support from many people, and he is also training people training the young minds. This is something which is very which is unheard of. I mean, people except Sudarshan Oldway, who is also involved in teaching people and making photography as a part of their regular life. Palani Kumar is also doing the same thing. And Palani intervenes at a very different level, completely different level. Sudarak intervenes at a very different level, whereas Palani intervenes at a different level. And you know how he's surviving. He's surviving by writing, by becoming a photojournalist to Carvan uh, similar such kind of or the uh, he write as a writers forum and all. So he keeps on writing, and he earns his living through these kind of mechanisms. So it's a very hard life. It is not only his subject of photography are living, I mean, are having a hard life, but the photographer himself is also having a hard life. And all these three photographers, they have put their life experiences behind every frame, I must say. It is not the just a visual experience like what you are seeing as Dayaniti Singh or other photographer or the so-called celebrated photographers in India. I mean, I like their work as a photographer, as an artist, as an art historian. But however, how do I explain these three photographers, which are completely different? So their life experiences are very much there behind each and every frame. And these frames are constructed completely in a different manner. Now you see what you what is that invisible nature which you constantly see. So he constantly tracked them, constantly went with them, and everywhere you will notice how the community is involved in cleaning dirt. And this completely shatters this whole idea of technology in India. And that is where I say, I mean, what kind of a technology we have produced? I mean, you are having satellite, you are having all these IITs and all. And that's why I said, because it does not concern you. Therefore, you do not want to innovate any technology on this. It's very simple. And to have a heavy vacuum cleaner machine for the corporates, it matter of expenditure. It becomes the matter of affordability. Why can't they do that? I mean, you are taking heavy taxes from the people, but you don't want to do anything. And therefore, this whole Swachh mission, Swachh Bharat becomes very problematic. Where, and this is where Bezwada Wilson has been arguing that, I mean, Mr. Prime Minister, yes, it is very good. We support you on this Swachh Bharat mission. But what about the people who are involved in manual scavengery? Why don't you think of them doing something, giving some funds and providing them some good education and not to get involved into these kind of unhealthy works, very inhuman work? So this is why where the Bezwada Wilson questions that Mr. Prime Minister is fine, we have no problems and we are part of it. And yes, we must do this Swachh Bharat mission, Clean India mission. But what about the people who are involved in the Swachh Bharat mission? Are there any programs? Is there a mechanism process? Is there anything for their development? So these are the questions that are being raised by many people, and therefore the project Swachh Bharat becomes very problematic in India. And this is how the manual scavenging goes in the city of the Chennai. So Palani Kumar, he follows each and every step and goes everywhere. He goes himself. He, I mean, these are the kind of things which people are involved. And if you see in the recent movie called sorry, web series 8, that's that IC814 something that hijacked these things, where there is a small shot of cleaning of the toilet in the by the air hostess and how she pukes and all those things. I mean, you feel like puking. But what about the this is this becomes a daily violence on the on the communities that are involved in cleaning these kind of places. And there is no technology. I mean, what kind of a technology we are talking about? See, the ways in which Europe has developed, the ways in which America has developed, the ways in which the South American countries are getting developed, the ways in which the East Asian countries are getting developed, but we are still living in archaic world. So all this Gandhi phenomenon is all about going to the antiquity, return to the antiquity, and these are all the lives of the antiquities which are being continued even in the modern times, and this is how their skin gets affected, and it becomes terrible. I mean, just terrible. To treat this, and they also get cancer through that. There are number of diseases they get, and this is how the sewage is being cleaned in the city areas. And notice the texture of the skin, how the disease actually harm people, those who are involved cleaning this kind of a profession. And see what kind of an, I mean, just polythene, and just you put your hand, sometimes you put your bare hand in it, and there are a number of these images where you have seen how they are bare hands. This is how they work. See, these are all the bare hands. There are nothing, no cover or nothing, and they just they are forced to go in this. There are manual, I mean, sewage death, and this is the cleaning during the time of COVID. So everyone was hiding in the room, and it is the Safai Karmachari staff everywhere in India. They were working constantly and keeping the city clean. But what return you get? You see, as a COVID warriors, the many places some graffiti paintings were made, or the street paintings were made, so-called street art and everything. So where you will see the medical staff, you will see the paramedical staff, but you don't see anybody. Like the Safai Karmachari is there as an integral part of fighting COVID, and constantly working in the city areas, and this is how they keep working in the city area. So this is the kind of a dirt they keep, and these are the dingy places we have, the civic places we have, and I mean, we are very much uh, no ethicality, no morality the society has, and they still wish to practice this kind of a dirt, and these are the living conditions of those communities. And whenever there is a death, so that it's a big blow to the entire family, because the sole bread earner is no more. And this is how the dead body is taken, and see the expression of the wife whose husband died, completely expressless. I mean, this very static. She's not understanding what to do, how she will cope life. It is all gone in one go, and this trauma is constantly inflicted on the life of the people who are involved uh, in this profession. So what Palani Kumar does, like, he takes his camera everywhere, the frame everywhere, and captures those and see I mean, these are I mean, people will never understand the the pain of loss of life is everywhere in India, no doubt about that. But their pain is of a different nature. It is not the pain of, I lost my near and dear ones, but I lost not only my near and dear ones, but also the sole earner and the torchbearer of the family. And when a torchbearer of the family is no more, there is a complete shattering of life. the family is so much traumatized. And let me also tell you that it is the collective nature of the community that tries to minimize the sorrow of the family. It is not a government intervention, it is not a state intervention, but rather it is an intervention of the community that enters in the domain and tries to console the family and also offers some kind of a support by whatever means or whatever is possible by the community itself. This is how the community has been surviving in India. And uh, the the dead body is being carried, and just see, I mean, in COVID deaths, what happened once you touch the dead body, COVID dead body, you also get COVID. Those kind of things, stories we have already heard, and uh, how painful and how traumatic it is. And see, even they don't have money to burn the dead body. So what is the way out is just to uh, put it in the earth. And these are the kind of practices which are being carried out by these people. So burying the dead in the earth. Now these are the recent works called Thuruvikando. Thuruvikado. It is an ongoing project which is on a nomadic tribe called Matikar. I mean, these are the tribe which constantly moves around, and it's a very different kind of a project. He started just 3-4 months ago, and he was very generous in sharing some of those images with me. So I really thank Palani Kumar. Whenever I just call him, I mean, he never says no to me. I mean, that's that's so nice of him. Very, very, I mean, he's a very gentle soul, I must say. And see the way he captures the community. So it is a nomadic tribe which do not have any land. They cannot claim any land. So wherever they go, they live in the outskirts of the villages. They collect whatever it is possible and then, make something out of it for their own purposes, and also as a part of the living, earning some living. So what they do is, like, this is a solar panel which they try to correct it, and then uh, also make use of these solar panels for lighting their own houses, and the government electricity doesn't come to them. So these are their huts. So they're all basically hut dwellers. And you will notice that there is a constant use of a particular material to make huts. So these are all the leaves, and out of that, there are those bamboos as well as non-bamboo material which is used for making the mats, and then these mats are put as a cover. So these are all small things which they collect. They do the rack picking work, they do all kinds of work. And see, I mean, every time they break and try to make something out of him, and these are all their houses. So these are the bamboo mats which are used as a part of their living, as part of, because it's very expensive to construct a house for them. So this becomes an easy means. And most of the time, like, either they earn something and then purchase it, or it becomes a kind of a barter system, like I give you this and you give me that, that kind of a things that always goes on. And this is very much there in every part of the world. And this is their daily living which he captures, and he stays with the community. This is another important part. It's not that like he will just go around and then come and find one day, just capture, click, 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 and then go. No, that's not his method. He stays with the community. He becomes part of that community. All these three photographers, they have been engaged in becoming part of the communities, and that is why their photographic images are totally different than what you generally see by the other people. So these are all the things which he captures. And then you see the night in their locality, in their hamlet. And see how Ambedkar enters in their life. So he is very particular in capturing those things also. Not that everybody becomes Ambedkarite, but what is important is that the Ambedkar enters in their life, and it is from then onwards there is a change in their life, and this becomes very significant in all the communities, in the depressed communities of India. Thank you very much. So if you have any question, I will be happy to answer those questions. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. No questions so far.
Yeah, anybody just unmute and can speak.
Okay, Akhil, please. Okay.
Professor Narendra is requesting to unmute.
Unmute, just one minute. Okay, 1 minute. Ji.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody is unmuted now. It looks like it. No, not yet. You unmute
sorry, I
them
got
and
two.
No, yeah, we are unmuted now. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and it's always pleasure to listen to you with the fresh ideas. And actually, I was just thinking this, that when you are reading this, being is always becoming, and then you were talking something about presuppositions.
Yeah.
Whether the presuppositions don't function during this process when being is becoming.
Once the being becomes becoming, then there is a death of presuppositions. Without killing presuppositions, you cannot become anything. That's a very candid thing, and people don't really are very scared to explain this particular complexities which they face at a mental level, at an intellectual level, as well as physical level. So it is not something which becomes a natural one. You know, there is a role of consciousness that becomes very important, and that role of consciousness is not at all explained. So people, you know, explain it through Deleuzian lens, and the Deleuzian becoming it becomes a very natural kind of a tendency, which does not come as a natural tendency. Without consciousness, you cannot achieve that becoming become. And how many people have really transformed themselves? That, I mean, everybody is being, I mean, they are living in those things, but how many have transformed themselves? That is something that they have to raise this particular question. And those who have become, obviously they are the transformed one. They are not the one who are sticking to their presuppositions. And you have to, you know, bypass or kill these presuppositions in everyday life and at every moment. It is a constantly ongoing process. So becoming is also is not a static one. So it is a constant moving process, and become is also not a static process. It also is a constantly moving process, constantly moving sphere, because you face different challenges. It's only a person who, like in the Buddhist practices, who achieves Nibbana. So Nibbana is a cessation of hate, anger, desire, and violence. So those who achieve that kind of a position in their life, in their mental and intellectual sphere, they are very different. So for them, it is a very enlightened mind which is trying to observe, which is trying to explain the phenomenon through the whole idea of Pratyuta Samutpad, or the theory of Pratyuta Samutpad, the theory of dependent origination. But when it comes to, I mean, the idea of transformation is also idea of become. And how many really transform in every sphere of life? That is something which needs to be analyzed, and it has to be brought as an integral part of the analysis, whether it is politics, whether it is sociology, whether it is psychology, whether it is religion, whether it is philosophy, whether it is any means for that matter.
Okay. Second, shall I ask second one?
Yeah.
Okay. See, actually, let me appreciate that you are bringing the issue of this scavenging to the fore, and through obviously through these photographs. Uh, in fact, I think when I look at my state, which where from I come, that is Haryana, there is a lot of difference. You might also be noticing this between different communities. So, and the communities which are engaged in this process, therein they don't actually want to call themselves to be Ambedkarite.
Hmm.
That is one of the things wherein I would say that you are bringing those issues to the fore through your presentation.
Yes.
And the person like Sudhakar as well. So, but I was just thinking that, these are the communities which are continuing with their traditional occupations.
Yeah.
But what about those who have left their traditional occupations? So how do you see this when we say that there is a discrimination going on in the society? So have you seen some depictions of those kinds wherein there is a kind of let's say transformation from traditional to the any other occupation? Is that kind of pictorial kind of or let's say that is also being done, or do you think that that is probably the gap which is available?
Well, Sudharak's photographs are very revealing in this case. I have not shown those photographs where when the transformation comes, how there is this transformation that goes in those respective families, and he has captured those families, and uh, and he's still engaged with those communities and those families. So he constantly visits them and constantly be part of it, despite he's doing many projects. I mean, whatever he's doing, but he doesn't leave what he worked on his earlier projects. So similarly, if you see Palani Kumar is constantly observing. He's going everywhere and capturing the manual scavengeries all over Tamil Nadu. And it's a massive project he has taken, and his objective is to sensitize people and make change, create those kind of changes. And he himself is also involved in the activism of creating consciousness. So it is not simply going with the camera, but he is also going with his mind. And it is that he how he understands that. He understands through the work of Dr. Ambedkar, like what you have to do and how you have to proceed. In case of Haryana, and not only in Haryana, but in larger part of India, certain communities like the manual scavengery communities, those who are involved in these kind of works, they are like, they say for example, the appellation of Valmiki is a misnomer. Valmiki was not at all scheduled caste, for that matter. He was not at all from untouchable community. In Ramayana, the author of Valmiki, the author of Ramayana is a Valmiki. And the appellation of Valmiki is given to them deliberately. Whereas Valmiki himself in Ramayana claims that I am a Pracheta, 10th son of Pracheta. I am a Bharadwaja Brahmin. You see, but despite that, it is narrated in public sphere that Ramayana was written by Valmiki and he was a untouchable community, from untouchable community. So this kind of a divine appellation becomes a part of the syndromic narrative that has emerged in colonial India, and it is very much adopted or rather agreed upon by these communities because they were not the people who were literate, or for that matter could read anything, or for that matter could understand those things, because the mind is so much governed by the blind faith. And this blind faith becomes presupposition, you see. And this because of the belief in the blind faith, you don't want to kill your normative, because it is blind faith is also part of the normative. Now I'll give you another example. You know, the great celebrated person like Bhagwan Das ji, who was from that community, and see what he achieved in his life. It is through education. He wrote Thus Spoke Ambedkar, which became part of understanding of Ambedkar for the youngsters of that time, like me and you or many other people. He is a role model for us. We don't consider him as, you know, as a Bhangi or anything, or anything, whether Chamar or anything. Kanshiramji was from different community. But we still revere Kanshiramji, we still revere Elar Bali, we still revere Bhagwan Das ji, we still revere person like Barrister Rajabab Khubragade and all. So there is this process that goes, and the criteria is that of whether you have changed or not, or you remain a fossilized person. So there are these complexities, and these complexities needed to be addressed. And there are wherever, if you see in many places, I don't remember the name of that person who is a fantastic performer in Kanpur or Lucknow, you know, who sprayed Ambedkar in every scavengering manual scavengering communities in I think it is in Kanpur. The fantastic performer. Through his performances, he spread Ambedkar everywhere. So there are people who are involved, and they want to change the society accordingly. And you know what Kancha Ilaiah says in the political terms, you know, he said that the Dalitization of the Indian society. I completely disagree with him. What kind of a Dalitization you mean? It is nothing. Dalitization doesn't mean anything. What you need is an Ambedkarization of the Indian society. The moment there is a process of Ambedkarization of the Indian society, there will be a transformation, there will be a change, the attitude of the people will change. And we also start a fresh life and a new life where you don't carry the burden of the past. Every time you carry the burden of past, people are so much engrossed in the past that they don't want to live the future. As simple as this.
Right, thank you.
And this is a caste Hindu syndrome. This is the Savarnatva syndrome that constantly getting inscribed in the public sphere.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, could I go next?
Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, Professor Lone. This was really fantastic. And thanks again, Ritika, for getting us together. Professor, I had a question about the techniques of the photography, especially of the artists that you've shown us. I was wondering what you thought about distance with the subject and the photographer. To what closeness are they looking at people in their photography? Or do you see a difference in how Dalit photographers kind of approach distance itself when they talk about their subjects? And I also wanted to kind of ask you if you could place that in relation to other photography by non-Dalits in India, that what would you think about the notion of distance there? Thank you.
They are very much, but they become part and parcel of the families and the community. All three of them. And I don't see that kind of an involvement by other people. They are very, this kind of a social consciousness and integrating with the community as a part of their photography subject. I mean, you have to be very, very courageous to do that. And they don't think that, you know, when these three photographers go to those families, the family members, whether it is of anywhere, where what the subjects they have captured, they don't think that some alien has come. They always treated them as their own family, as their own members, and that is why these people could easily walk with them. Though some have not faced that kind of a life, but they are very much part of the scheduled caste communities, and that Ambedkarian lens, they know that caste is a hierarchy. And descending and the ascending things which the idea of reverence and the idea of contempt that constantly goes in the practices of the society. So these are the three photographers which I have shown you, where they do not distinguish themselves from their subject of photography. They very much become part of the photography, and therefore you will find that their frame, their their images are very different. Why they are so much loaded? Not as a part of exoticism or not part of what is captured as real, but rather it is captured as what is generally not visible. It is this invisible nature which is observed in other people's work, and you will find that this invisible nature is completely dismantled and made visible by this by their photographic practices. And that is why they become very different. And indeed, yes, it is very much there when you capture these communities with the Gandhian lens, Gandhian lens of pity. Ambedkarian lens is not pity. Ambedkarian lens is that of karuna, compassion. And compassion is all about finding out the real problems and offer solutions to those problems. Whereas pity, daya is all, वो गरीब है उसको पैसे दे दो यार चले. No, that's not the way. So the Gandhian way of pity and Ambedkar's karuna are two totally different. What we need in the policy making is the compassion and not the daya, not the pity. Unless until you change this perception, unless until you devise your policies on the basis of the karuna, the mechanism which Dr. Ambedkar constantly getting engaged and offering solutions to the problems through the constitutional means and the mechanism where everybody is involved. Till that point of time, you will not see the difference. But otherwise, yes, there are difference because these are the photographers who are using that Ambedkarian lens. Their consciousness is very different. Their consciousness is not at the Gandhi consciousness. Gandhi doesn't stay in their mind at all. It is nowhere. There is no pity as such. There is always a compassion, and they will always go do a lot of things. They are totally engaged people, and that is why Palani Kumar, Palani Kumar says that without people's work, I'm not a photographer. Can you imagine? Has any photographer ever said this? No photographer has said this. And that is why they are different. And that is why I make this distinction between the Ambedkarian lens and the non-Ambedkarian lens. I hope this explains your anxiety and the issues which you have raised.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, any other?
So
I think
my usual
Professor
question.
Urmimala had unmuted and I don't know where she disappeared. So if you have anything, Professor Urmimala? I don't know. Well, yeah, carry on, Ritika.
So and I've been coming up with this question right from the start of these talks, which is that most of what we're looking at is based out of West India. UP, of course, being a huge, a state where there's a lot of, I don't know if they consider themselves Ambedkarite, if they consider themselves Dalit, whatever, but I mean, we know that a lot of the political movements have come out of North India. So why are we not seeing more artists coming out of the rest of India?
They're coming out gradually. There are people like we do have it is on rise. It is on rise, and let me also tell you, person of my generation, except Savi Savarkar, I don't see anybody getting sensitized that way. I'm sorry to say this. But certainly, post our generation, there is a new change which is bringing, and they are questioning the very narrative of art practices which the our generation, that is the generation of the 60s and 70s, have created, or even the generation of the 50s have created. They're questioning that narrative. Where are you? How is your art practices? I mean, it is so much cosmetic in nature. There is a cosmeticism that constantly goes in the photographic images as well as in their artworks. And these are the set of artists who are, directly raising the concerns and the questions. And that is why I said, where is your modernity and postmodernity? So neither you are modern nor you are postmodern. So all your claims are very false. These are the claims which are part of the Brahminical cultural nationalism. I mean, the secularist and open-minded person would not like to accept this particular comment by me. I know they are averse to this kind of comments, or even I know that how even people, some students are, if being in academic institutions, I can tell you that some students become uncomfortable, or even to a certain extent, they would even say that these are not the good teachers at all in our academic institutions. I mean, we know that, very much we know, but we don't care. Who is bothered? I'm not bothered, at least. For me, it is a different pursuit. And I challenge, I mean, they are very much part of the protected ignorance. I'm not part of the protected ignorance. They are part of the protected, they are nurturing protected ignorance. They are the one who are involved in committing everyday violence and atrocities on the population of, large population of Republic of Government of India. They are involved in it. We are not involved in it. We are constantly fighting it, and we will continue fight it. We will continue to oppose it. And being in academic institution, I will do it academically. Somebody who is active, there are a number of people who are active on the ground, and they are very much involved in sensitizing people. It is that consciousness that matters a lot. And unless until you generate this, interrogative consciousness doesn't come. I'm sorry to say this, even among our student fraternity, the interrogative consciousness does not come. Whereas a person who reads Ambedkar suddenly becomes very interrogative. He questions every now and then. That questioning constantly goes on. Whereas when you read Foucault, you consider, anarchy as something very normal. So you consider anarchy as normal as your presupposition, then what can we do? That means there is a problem with your consciousness itself, your understanding itself, and you don't try to see the sufferings of the people. The sufferings is not a physical suffering, but also a mental suffering, also psychological suffering. Also, it is a process which is greatly involved in the making of the nation. If you don't address sufferings of the people, you will not be a good nation, as simple as this. And if you address only your religiosity, but how your religiosity is creating anarchy in the society, that you don't try to understand. These are very important issues which needs to be unpacked. And the young minds needs to be trained accordingly. Whether they want to learn or they want to change is their choice. I can't impose my ideas on anyone. But yes, I will talk about those ideas. As a teacher, certainly I would like to talk about those ideas. And I will say, and that is why I often say, I mean, what kind of a things you have produced? So the so-called claim merits and all. Have they created any discourse? Tell me, in India or even otherwise also. No way. Absolutely no way. What they created is an extension of Brahminical cultural nationalism. Whether it is post-colonial, whether it is modern, they are all part and parcel of the same lot. For me, they are very much Vedantic. And the Vedantics have not created anything new, something very critical. That idea of criticality cannot be achieved by the Vedantic logic. Or even for that matter, that idea of criticality cannot be imparted only through the Foucauldian syndrome. The Foucauldian syndrome will talk about anarchy, and you will get so much involved with the understanding of anarchy that you will see everything as anarchical and anarchy as a part of your everyday thinking. But you will not come out of it. Foucault will not empower you to come out of anarchy and kill those anarchical practices. But Ambedkar does. To me, yes, Ambedkar does. And I can prove those things. It's very easy. They are very much part of the protected ignorance. Because what you are creating is not any kind of an enabling process. And despite getting educated, despite getting PhD and everything, you still remain the same. So your degrees are not at all creating good human beings in India. Education, the objective of the education is to also to create good human beings in India. And what human beings we are creating are the human beings who are involved in practicing anarchy and hierarchy.
So which brings me...
These are the set of photographers who are questioning that. Their art practices are questioning that. So there is a new thinking. I mean, you just can't go on painting the same thing or just go on painting the landscape. And there are people who are making subversion or the kind of a narrative that has been created over a period of time. But see the narrative that has been created by Vikrant Bise. There is a subversion of that narrative, complete subversion of narrative. And that is why this kind of a thinking comes with certain responsibilities. And they are very much aware of those responsibilities.
So this is something which, because I've got the analytics in front of me of our presentations, and you will not believe this part of the analytics, but here it is. The viewers of our lectures are 100% male and between the age of 24 and 35. Not the ones who are joining the lectures, but the viewers of our lectures. So to me, this is also saying, where are the women? And we've looked at these lectures, we've looked at many of these lectures have been depictions of women through the eyes of men. But where are the women in all this talk that we are doing?
There are very few female painters. and you know, they have to come forward and do. There are people like Ishita, there are people like Jaya, there are people like Ranjita Kumari, or a lot of other people are there. And even in the photographic practices, there are a couple of people, but very few. There are very few. I have not put their work here in this PPT because I thought let me focus only on the 3 people. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Anything else?
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening.
So I was thinking about the work on Tamasha Gates, and in Baluta, Dayapawar is like very much saddened when he realizes that he cannot play the instruments his father played. He cannot like perform like him, even though Dayapawar was the part of the movement for a long time until his death. So like how, like, what are the things that actually like changed all like the landscape of Tamasha in Maharashtra, and how did OBC then start making space in Tamasha's space?
A very, very marginal change has happened. See, the change is all. See, today when you see that Tamasha is a folk form of Maharashtra, you know, it has got the status, the status of the state performance or a state. So you don't pick up the person from the real Tamasha community and make her to perform as a part of Maharashtra Day or anywhere, for that matter. what you pick up is all the urban Puneites or Mumbaites who are, making all that Lavani and all kinds of things. So Lavani is a very much part of the Tamasha. But who are the Lavani performers today? They are the one who come from a very rich class and the caste. And they perform and they earn money. And the state is also projecting them as icon of the Lavani performance. Whereas the Lavani is being performed by these communities, why don't you really go and hunt for these communities and make them visible as a part of state mechanism, as a part of distribution of equality? And also give them those kind of money and everything which is given to these so-called the clay and professional Lavani performers. It is a Doordarshan which has created these things. Let me tell you, in India, in Mumbai, it is a Doordarshan. He was responsible. They in the studio, anything which is Doshi Kulkarni kind of a things, that person would perform. And it would be projected as Lavani. Oh, great Lavani. Oh, kiti chan Lavani karte is gatu. This is how they would remark. And it continues in the post-liberalization period. So where are these people who are marginalized communities, who are still performing in the villages and all? And the jatras, in every jatras, every fairs, there are these families of the performers who constantly come and perform and earn living on the performances. And the general public is having a very different view. Their view is that of, oh, they look at them as a sex object, as an entertainment object. Like physically you can touch in a public glare. So that becomes your pleasure. And this is constantly being followed. And there is also resistance. So the resistance on the part of the performer and the resistance also on the part of the families is also growing. And I mean, you can meet Sudharak and ask what kind of communities are involved in that Tamasha. He will tell you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I will continue on this.
Yeah.
I will try to ask sir also.
Sure.
Thank you.
I guess that is it for today, sir. And that's it for the masterclasses. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
And you've all made a lot of effort.
Thank you.